In Mark 12, there was a teacher of the law that asked Jesus, what's the greatest commandment of the law? And Jesus says, the first commandment is this: the Lord our God is one God. You will love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your strength. And the second is like it: you love your neighbors yourself.
Yeah.
And Jesus says there is no command greater than these. Well, we spend a lot of time with a lot of commands, and we ought to be spending a little more time with the command to love one another.
Amen.
So that's what we've been doing here lately. Last time I talked about the attribute of love, that love is patient. Today I want to talk about love is kind. Now, in the Greek, the word is Christoomai, and the definition that you find in Greek lexicons is be kind, be gentle, behave kindly. Be kind, loving, merciful. Function in a helpful manner. But I started looking at, well, what is to be kind? What is kindness? Okay? We need to understand something, like we do all the attributes of love, that love is kind. Therefore, you cannot be unkind and loving at the same time. It's impossible. So I did a little looking in some dictionaries. Now, a definition of kind: of a sympathetic or helpful nature. I was helped by a kind neighbor. They were very kind to us. Of a forbearing nature, gentle, kind treatment of animals, arising from or characterized by sympathy or forbearance, a kind act, like a kind smile. Of a kind to give pleasure or relief, as in cooled by a kind breeze. Some synonyms of kind are attentive, considerate, thoughtful, solicitous. Also kind, given to or made with heedful anticipation of the needs and happiness of others. Providing the grieving widow with a homemade meal was a kind deed. Some synonyms of more are attentive, considerate, thoughtful. Some related words to kindness: brotherly, good, good-hearted, helpful, hospitable, kind-hearted, kindly, neighborly, nice, caring, compassionate, sympathetic, tender, chivalrous, courteous, courtly, gallant, gracious, polite, diplomatic, tactful, differential, dutiful, obliging, regardful, respectful, benevolent, humane, selfless, unselfish, charitable, generous, magnanimous. Now, some things that are called mere antonyms, almost the opposite of: inattentive, uncaring, unheeding, inhospitable, ill-bred, ill-mannered, impolite, rude, uncivil, unmannerly, unhelpful, malicious, mean, spiteful. Some things that are exact opposites: heedless, inconsiderate, thoughtless, unthinking. Another definition: having or marked by sympathy and consideration for others. A kind person who volunteers regularly at a homeless shelter, for example. Again, some related words: attentive, considerate, thoughtful, affable, amicable, benign, companionable, cordial, genial, gentle, good, good-natured, good-tempered, gracious, mild, neighborly again, nice, pleasant, sweet, warm, forbearing, forgiving, lenient, soft, patient, pitying, tolerant, understanding. Some other near antonyms of kind: iron-hearted, merciless, pitiless, ruthless, stony-hearted, inconsiderate, heavy-handed, severe, stern, tough, unsentimental, hateful, malicious, malignant, mean, nasty, spiteful, anti-humanitarian, uncharitable. Some other antonyms: atrocious, barbarous, callous, cold-blooded, cruel, fiendish, inhumane again, insensitive, sadistic, savage, uncompassionate, unfeeling, unkind. Then I took a look at kindness. What's kindness? The act of a kind assistance, for example. Benevolence, courtesy, grace, indulgence, favor, mercy, service. Dispensational, waiver, benefit, blessing, godsend, manna. I thought that was neat. Dear antonyms are hindrance, impediment, obstacle. Another definition: the capacity for feeling for another's unhappiness or misfortune. Some more synonyms with that: big-heartedness, charity, compassion, feeling, humanity, mercy, pity, soft-heartedness, warm-heartedness. Some other things that are not the same: mercilessness, pitilessness, ruthlessness, toughness, hatefulness, maliciousness, meanness, spitefulness, barbarity, bestiality, brutality, brutishness, callousness. It's more than just saying nice things, isn't it? Like so many things that have to do with love, it's not really a matter of doing. It's a matter of being. You can do seemingly kind things from a hard heart. Mm-hmm. You know, I know, when Paul wrote that vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, I will repay. And if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he's thirsty, give him drink. For by so doing, you heap coals of fire on his head. Now, you can feed your enemy and you can give him drink, but it doesn't have to be from kindness, does it?
That's right.
You can be doing that and just go up and say, wait, oh God, get him. That's not kindness, is it? So many things, and I'm going to talk one of these days about obeying the gospel and how do you do that. So many times in religion, we judge things by what's done. Okay, you do this or you don't do that. And if we read the Old Testament and go through Leviticus sometime. I know some people say, well, that's boring, but you ought to go through it. It's kind of cool. All these things that God says for you to do or not do, and how to do them and when to do them. If you're going to give a sacrifice, you cut it this way, you sprinkle the blood here, you put this there, you do this there. All these little things of exactly how to do things. And all of these things were trying to teach us something, put us through the motions, okay? But what happened was, with the Jewish people, they thought it was the doing that was important. And that's kind of like religion today, isn't it?
Amen.
How do you do religion today? Well, you show up in church all the time, right? When people are praying, you bow your head. You be respectful. You listen to a boring sermon, you know. All these things that you do. But how often do we talk about what we should be? Because that's what Jesus did. Under the old law, it says, do this way at this time. If you look at Jesus' teachings, his teachings were, don't be this way, be this way. Don't be this kind of person, be this kind of person. Jesus was taking all the things of the law and teaching the principles upon which they were based. That we have to be something. In 1 Corinthians 13, it says that love is kind. To put it another way, that's what love means, is kind. You can do all kinds of things, but if that's not what you are, what difference does it make? You know? I know people that their tithe is their obligation. They're going to do it because you got to do it. You know? Our Bible says the Lord loves a cheerful giver.
Amen.
Here, right? Glad to be able to. That comes from a different kind of heart, doesn't it? I'm trying to figure out how to put this and not sound stupid. Sometimes people tell me, well, I don't know how, you just go all the time. No, I don't. I go today if I need to. I'm not worried about tomorrow, next week, or next month. You just do today. That's it. You know, if my day belongs to God, it means my time belongs to him, and whatever he has worked out for today is good enough.
Amen.
You know, and he'll figure out tomorrow too. And, you know, you can do just about anything if you don't have to do it for very long. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like when you go to the doctor and he whoops up that big long needle. He said, it's going to hurt a little bit. And it does, but not for long. And you can handle it. Right? Now, if he would go sit there for a week with that needle poking on you, it might be a little harder to take. You know? So we need to somehow figure out how to be kind. How to be kind. Not how to do kind things, but how to actually be kind. You know? That I need to be concerned when Jerry has a problem. And if there's some way I can help, to be available to do that, you know, I need to be concerned if Marilyn is a little upset, that maybe I can lift her spirits a little bit.
You guys have done that a lot.
You know,
Lifted your spirit or upset you?
No.
both.
Maybe a
Little both.
My spirits.
I want us to think about something. I posted something in a Facebook group here a while back. I said, love is kind.
Mm-hmm.
Do something kind for someone today for no reason. Just because you are. You know, if you are a kind person, then you will do kind things. You know, it's kind of like faith and works. Religious people like to argue about faith and works, works and faith, which is which. The truth of the matter is, if you have faith, you will do things.
Amen.
Period. James said, faith without works, well, that's not really faith. The works don't do anything. The faith they come out of does. And you can't help it. Okay? It's who you have to be in here. You know. I used to have a lady I worked with, loved her dearly, and she had a favorite saying. It was slop bucket. Whenever she'd do anything, drop something, hit her finger, whatever, oh, slop bucket. And I asked her one day, I said, why do you say that? Well, I said, you're saying that so you won't say what you're thinking, aren't you? And she said, well, yeah. I said, uh-huh. I said, there ain't no difference, is there? We need to have it where it's what's inside us, that we're kind inside, that we don't know how to be unkind. We don't know how to be spiteful, Now I've heard people say, if somebody's nasty to you, be nice to them. They don't know what to do with it. That'll really get them. Well, that's not kind, is it?
That's not the right spirit.
No, that's not a kind spirit. And we need to learn how to have a kind spirit. And it's a lot more than just saying nice things.
Mm.
How many of you know a really kind person? Do you have a lot of respect for that person?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard not to, isn't it?
Yeah, there's nothing to hang on.
Yeah. You remember when Jesus was on his way when Lazarus was sick? And he got there and Lazarus was dead. Now, Jesus already knew what was going to happen. He knew he was going to raise Lazarus from the dead. God was going to be glorified. And it was going to be one of those hallelujah days. But it says he cried. He cried. Why? Why would Jesus cry when Lazarus was dead?
Because of the great sorrow.
It is his friend.
Yeah, and
I
everybody
think-
around him. His
I think
feelings.
it was because, in a way, it was he saw it as unkind that he was going to have to bring him back into this mess.
That could be. That could be. Maybe it was because of the pain that Lazarus' family and friends were feeling,
Yeah. Empathy.
that it got to him. Even though he knew he was going to fix it, he was getting ready to change their grief to joy. He still felt their pain then, We need to learn how to develop that kind-heartedness. That I'm more concerned with Tracy than I am with me.
Would you try a little harder?
And that's hard, It is.
I think most of the people here are kind. They just are.
Most of the time.
Most of the time. It's that most of the time that once in a while you think, well, they get what they deserve, or that kind of, even though you're being nice, that comes in.
Mm-hmm.
But I think most of these people here are just naturally kind.
Or somebody says or does something and we get offended.
Yeah, and then we do that, whatever that word thing is.
What is though if no, you can't take offense if no offense has been given?
Well, it's,
Or to do it backwards?
yeah, you got it backwards, but that's okay.
But what is it?
There is no offense if you choose not to take offense.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to be offended if you have no pride.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Isn't it? Every once in a while I mention a guy named James Allen. I'd recommend anybody Google him and look at the things he wrote. He wrote in the early 1900s. And one of the books he wrote was As a Man Thinketh.
Mm.
Most people are probably familiar with that book.
James Allen, did you say?
Mhm. Allen. He wrote a book called, none of his stuff is long. He wrote a book called The Mastery of Destiny. He was a very firm believer in the fact that you reap what you sow. That every seed you plant, good or bad, has a harvest. And one of the things he was talking about in one of his books, he said, if someone brings you bad, they insult you, they do whatever, don't get mad at them. He said, they're just delivering what you ordered. That at some point you've done something that deserves that kind of harvest. Don't get mad at them. He said, they're just delivering the package. You ordered it. And he says, when you look at guys that are successful and happy and are just really not good people, and you wonder why, he said, everything they've done in their life wasn't bad. But they will reap what they're sowing. What kind of harvest do we want? Do we want a kind harvest? Do you?
Of course. My God.
How do we get it?
My prayer for years is because I'm not this person, but then I had to pray that, Lord, just make me sweet. Just give me a sweet, sweet spirit. You know, and it's taken, Joyce Meyer said that 20 years ago, and I'm still, every morning I'm like, Lord, just make me sweet. This will always work. That's my prayer, Lord, just make me sweet.
How many of us really want to be tender-hearted?
Oh,
I mean, words.
Tender-hearted. How many of us really want to be tender-hearted?
Sure.
Yeah. Let me tell you something about being tender-hearted.
It hurts.
You're going to get hurt, aren't you?
Yep.
Let me tell you about being humble.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get stepped on.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you something about being forgiven. You're going to be taken advantage of.
Mm-hmm.
wait again.
Huh?
Forgiven?
Forgiving.
If you're forgiving, you're going to be taken advantage of. Trust me. Because you will earn the reputation of being forgiven, or forgiving. And people will expect it. It's the way it goes. You know? If you're tolerant, you're going to get pushed. Right? Love is kind. You cannot be unkind and loving at the same time. You can't be. They're opposites. And being kind is different than doing kind things.
Amen.
Okay? It's like having a relationship with Christ is a lot different than being religious.
Oh, yeah.
A lot different. Okay? We were talking in Bible study today, you know, people haven't changed in the last 2,000 years. They haven't changed in the last 6,000 years. They're the same. You know, we start getting our position threatened. We start getting our hackles up. And we start defending our turf. Why? This world and everything in it belongs to God. Ain't none of it mine.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's why in Luke 14, Jesus says, if you don't give up everything you have, you cannot be my disciple. He didn't say give it away. He just said give it up. You know, my favorite drinking cup is just a cup. And it's not mine. It belongs to the Lord. You might say, oh, come on, Lord. You bought that cup. Well, I actually didn't. My wife bought it for me. But it's still not mine. It's still not mine. I used to talk about You know, there's a passage where Jesus is talking. It says, if someone takes what's yours, don't demand it back. And I use an analogy, you know, if I come over to your house and you serve me a cup of coffee and I say, oh man, that is a neat cup. I don't have one like that. I'm going to take it home with me. What would you do? Probably nothing. It's just a coffee cup, right?
Mhm.
If I come over to your house and say, Mike, can I borrow a screwdriver? And you say, yeah, and I take your screwdriver home. And I use it, whatever, and I don't bring it back. And a couple of days later, Mike says, where's my screwdriver? Well, I don't have a screwdriver. How big a deal are you going to make out? Just a screwdriver, right?
Mhm.
No big deal. What if I come over and say, Karen, can I borrow your car? Sue's sick. I need to take her to the hospital. I can't get mine started. Instead, Karen being the first, she says, sure. So I take her to the hospital and she's okay. And I come back home and I park Karen's car in my driveway.
Well, I know something about that.
Huh?
Never mind. It was a mean thing.
Now, if I'm not going to bring Karen's car back to her, you think she's going to be upset?
Well, yes.
Why?
Mhm.
But she needs it to do other stuff.
What's the difference in the car and a screwdriver?
The money.
No,
What's the
The value.
difference between a car and a screwdriver?
Yeah, it
Right.
is.
nothing.
The price tag.
That's it.
That's it. It's the only difference. That's the only difference.
And it's a little hard to drive a screwdriver.
It's hard to drive a screwdriver.
I can't use them at all. Screwdrivers.
But we need to understand this is kind of what Jesus is talking about. Nothing you have can own you.
Amen.
That's right.
And the only way it owns you is if you think you own it. Right? Stuff doesn't matter. What matters is people. That's what matters. When you see someone that's in need, and you look in your pocket, and all you got is one $10 bill. Now, if I had 2 5s, I'd give him one. But I ain't gonna give him the last one. Right? You ever been there? I'd love to help him, but it put me short. You ever been there? We've all been there. We've all been there.
Mhm.
Love is kind all the time. It never stops being kind.
God is good all the time. God is good.
So the assignment for this week
No homework.
is work on being kind.
Amen.
Watch yourself. Try to realize when you're being unkind. Okay? And it can be real simple. How often is sarcasm kind?
Oh, yes. And sometimes, well, I should, wit, you know, people think to be witty in certain ways. I mean, you know, in Louis XIV or whatever it was, they had that thing that they started developing, which the French seem to still have, called people begging. No, they did. It was a high art in court where you could if you could very competently, you know, say, I can't say it right, but you know what I mean. I mean, people begging, where it was a game they played, but it was really an unkind game.
Let's be conscious of kindness this week.
Amen.
You know, I'm not saying go out and try to do kind things. Concentrate on becoming kind.
It's,
Amen.
Realize when you're not being kind. Because that's probably the easiest way to become kind.
it's to recognize it.
is to recognize it.
And the other thing is, you were given the opposites. The opposites, since kindness is with love and is within God, then the opposites is always of the evil one, I guess, isn't it? And that's also where, in our nature, when we have a tendency towards, well, he deserved it or something, that kind of an attitude you might get.
And one of the things that happens to us is there's an excuse that we use. Well, everybody does that.
What was it?
Everybody does that.
No.
And yeah, that's true,
That
but
should
it's
make
no
you
excuse.
Right away, that should make you right away
It should,
think about that.
yeah.
If everybody does it, it's gotta be.
So figure out this week how to become a little bit kinder. And I think the best way to do that is to figure out when you're tempted to not be kind. When you let things irritate you. When you want to snap back. When you want to be a little bit sarcastic and give them a little dig. Because none of that's kind. So let's practice it this week. Okay? Let's just work on one little attribute of love. And next time I'll talk about another attribute. And none of these attributes, like when we talk about patience is not that easy, is it? And it's not that simple, is it? Well, kindness isn't that simple. The only way to get there is to become that. Okay? And in 1 Corinthians 13, when Paul's talking about love, he is talking about how we become spiritual. He's saying we become spiritual by learning to love. When we look at these attributes of love, we can understand that God has these attributes. This description of love is a description of God. God is patient, right? We can also read, God's not slow in keeping his promise like we count it, but rather he's patient, not willing that any of us should perish. Okay? God is kind. We hear that God helps those who help themselves. That's not in the Bible. I'll tell you what is in the Bible. God helps those that can't help themselves.
Amen.
When you get to bottom and the only hope you've got is God, that's when he shows up in force. It's when there's nothing else that works.
Well, that's when you notice it, in a way. That's for sure when you notice it.
Mhm.
He's actually always,
Oh, he's always there.
and always being helpful, but you sure notice it when you're down to nothing else but him.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, practice being kind. Practice becoming kind, which they're not always the same thing.
Some of that, too, is being kind to yourself.
Mhm.
Because it seems to me, I don't know about everybody, but I think so. Most people are even most unkind to themselves, almost.
When we look at, love your neighbor as yourself, it says you got to love yourself before you love your neighbor. Okay? Now, Jesus did up the ante on that when he says, no, you love each other the way I love you. We're hard on ourselves sometimes. We're unforgiving of ourselves at times. Sometimes we just flat don't like ourselves. We don't give ourselves a break sometimes. Now, sometimes we do the exact opposite. But anyway. But this week, practice being kind. Being kind, not doing kind. Being kind. Search for that tender heart. Go smell a flower.
Kindness just proceeds from a loving heart.
Yeah, that's right.
So all the time, at least at that time, you have a loving heart. When you
Each one of these attributes, if we work on them, makes us love a little bit better.
Amen.
And when love is mature in us, some neat things happen. That's what we should be striving for. I want to become love. Because when I become love, I become like God. And not until then. Because God is love.
Mhm.
The only way I can do it. Let's work on it. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for loving us. And Father, help us to realize how often you demonstrate your love to us. How often you show us. Father, help us to realize that even in your creation, it was for us. That the flowers are pretty for us. That all the majesty in this creation was so that we could behold it and stand in awe. Father, help us this week to learn to be more kind, to be gentler, more considerate, more tender-hearted. Father, help us to be pleasing to you. We pray in your Son's name. Amen.
Because he